Woke up this morning with my mind set on loving me. With my mind
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Q&A exchange.
I'm Kriani Denise, your self-healing coach.
And my name is April Diane, self-care coach. And today our topic is the reflection. And when we're talking about the reflection, we're talking about the reflection of life, the reflection of the experiences that you have. And so we pulled, as our inspiration for today, we pulled some cards. One of the cards that we pulled is from Matt Kahn's deck that Kuyani gifted me. And this deck is called The Healing Mantra. And it's by Matt Kahn. And it's the Healing Mantra deck. And I love cards because, you know, they're very, I mean, this is energy, this experience, but you know, you always get the right fortune, the right thing that you need at that particular time. Well, this card lined up, we picked two cards today, one from Matt Kahn's deck and then one from Louise Hay's deck, Heart Thoughts. And this is a deck of affirmations. And my friend gave it to me, Roxanne? Roseanne. I can't remember which friend gave it to me. That's terrible.
And one named Roseanne. Ooh-wee.
The first card says, there is no problem, only destiny being revealed. Welcoming surrender is the theme of this particular card.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this message. There is no problem, only destiny being revealed, because it goes along with our topic, our title for today, the reflection. Many times when we've experienced trauma, and all of us have experienced some degree of trauma. Some of us, there are different levels of the trauma that we've experienced, but we've all experienced some.
Yeah.
When we experience trauma, we often have take on the perspective of what we've known as victim mode, right? Where life is happening to us, everything feels like it's against us. You know, we feel powerless. That's just one vantage point that we can take, because there was probably a time where we really didn't feel we had a choice in what was happening in our life. You know, we just were kind of going along with whatever authoritative figure was in charge of our life. And then sometimes even just at our jobs, in our family structures, in our relationships, we carry that energy of not feeling like we have a choice, that life is happening to us, you know, attacking us. That vantage point can cause us to basically just take on a victim mentality. This person did this to me, this person, everybody's always, you know I've definitely had that state of consciousness at some point in my life, you know, where I'm honestly not just now, but over the course of the last 10 years, redirecting the thought to, you know what, I have a choice. I have a choice in what I give my attention to. I have a choice in how I respond to the things that I experience. And I have a choice in who I allow around me. I have a choice in where I go and where I don't go. I have choices. And as I was sharing before our video, you know, the example of my birds, I recently adopted some parakeets, and one of the things, and being the philosopher that I am, I started to see the connection between the birds being in the cage. And the birds basically, you know, at the pet store, they're in the cage 24/7. So that's probably a part of their trauma story. You know, they're inside this cage, they can't choose to fly away. They have to stay within the confines of this cage. You know, they cannot control the people who are in the cage, or the other birds rather, who are in the cage with them. They're just thrown into the cage. They're not getting to choose who all is in the cage, right? And so then I go to the pet store and I pick up 2 of the birds and I bring them home. Well, just because I brought them home doesn't mean that they don't still have this perspective that they had from the experience of being in the bird cage at the store. So even though I brought them home and now it's just the 2 of them in the cage, right? And on top of that, the cage stays open. Their mindset is still the way that it was when they were in the cage that they couldn't just get out of. And so the reason that this is so profound to me is because we can take ourselves out of a situation, right? When we're kids, we can take ourselves out. We move out of our parents' house. When we're in relationships that are not healthy for us, we can move out of the unhealthy relationship. But there are still some remnants of old belief patterns that were developed during the time that we were in those old scenarios. So for the bird example, the belief pattern that they developed while being inside the cage at the pet store was that they couldn't get out of the cage. And that belief was supported in the fact that the pet store people never let them out of the cage. So they start to form a belief, and this is how beliefs are formed. They started to believe that they don't have a choice. They have to stay inside a cage, right? So now, even though the cage is open, they still predominantly stay inside the cage at first, the first few days for sure that I got them home. Cage open, they staying in there. And that's what happens to us. We can get free and change our environments and still be stuck in the cages of our beliefs. So they've tested the water. They come out all the time now, but then they always go back into the cage. But I think they enjoy, and that's also a part of the process when we are redefining our beliefs. We'll test the water and see, do I really have a choice with, say, for example, when we're in relationships, right? Or when we're pursuing relationships. Do I really have a choice with who I date, or do I just have to accept whatever this person brings to me? Or can I state that this doesn't work for me? Can I do that? You know, because in my last situation, maybe I couldn't do that. Maybe when I did that before, I would get, ridiculed for having a need or whatever, gaslighted. But now I could be in a completely different relationship and still holding that belief pattern. And then operating from it there. So the whole idea of the reason that this is so important to understand as it relates to self-care and self-mastery, the reason that the idea of the reflection is so important is because our perspective on every situation will determine the outcome of the situation. We are not just characters in a play given scripts to perform. We are actually authors. We are writers. We are creators. And even though we have had one type of experience for however long we've had it, we still have the ability and the power within us, the creative power within us, to change the course of what happens going forward. And so we really have to get to the point where we're understanding I get to choose. And as I was saying before about the cage, sometimes the cage is closed, right? Sometimes you're in situations and the choices that you have are minimal. Sometimes the choice is just simply to maintain peace or to resist. Sometimes it's just those two choices. Sometimes you can't leave the cage. Sometimes the door is closed temporarily to protect us, right? Because when I leave out of my house, I close the cage so that the birds are protected. They don't know why I'm closing the cage, right? To protect them. But that's when they have to develop the trust. And that's when we have to develop the trust of life. That if we are in situations that, let's say we're in a job that we feel like we can't leave the job, right? Because we need income, people are depending on us, da, 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 da. That may be true. That may not be a choice that we can make, but it doesn't mean that there's no choices available. The choice available in those circumstances becomes, I can make peace with what is right now, or I can resist it, fuss about it, complain every day, just rebel against the authority figures. I can make it, miserable for me. I can go to work being pissed off every day, mad at the fact that I have to go, and just make it more miserable. Or I can just say, you know what, this is what it is right now. I'm just going to make peace with this, and just so that I give myself the gift of relaxation and the gift of wellness, right? Mm-hmm. We have those choices sometimes. Sometimes those are the only two choices that we have. Make peace or resist. There still is a choice. Always going to be a choice there. So, back to the point of this being, the topic being the reflection. Life is reflecting your vantage point. How you are coming into the situation. Are you coming into the situation empowered and feeling like you're a powerful being that can direct how the energy flows in this circumstance? Or are you coming into a situation feeling like, you know what, I'm being attacked. There's no hope. There's always hope. And there's always an opportunity to choose how you show up. And like I was saying earlier to Kuyani, I was saying, we get to choose, but first and foremost, we have to understand that we're not always going to be put into situations where it's always peaceful. Sometimes we're going to be put in situations where there is chaos, and we are meant to bring the peace. We are meant to become the alchemist to help the peace to come about, to learn how to transform circumstances. But if we go into situations always feeling like, every life is against us, then we're in victim mode, and we're never going to get ourselves, move ourselves beyond that place. Things are never going to shift for us if we don't come out of the mindset that I can choose and I can actually decide how the energy that I bring to this scenario. So life is happening for us. It's happening to serve us.
Yeah.
Even the most traumatic parts of it, even the parts that are, hard to deal with, hard to navigate.
Yep.
They are absolutely, when we make peace with them, they start to give us some wisdom. When we make peace with especially difficult situations, wisdom comes from those situations. Sometimes it's wisdom about new decisions we need to make. Sometimes it's cultivating certain characteristics that we need in order to step into the roles, the next level of our lives. So it could be strengthening our patience. It could be strengthening our listening skills, right? It could be strengthening our compassion for ourselves and others. It could be disciplining us, So how has this experience come to serve me? And so to go back to his card, there is no problem, only destiny being revealed. We have to stop looking at situations as if they are attacking us and if they are coming to be a problem. They could be coming to be a blessing.
Mhm.
And the same thing that we look at as a problem, someone else will use that to level up.
Right.
And I've seen it before, you know, and like the memes where they have them where, you know, people are showing how instead of using a scenario as a looking at like a stump in the road as a problem, they used it to step up on and to reach the next level and to
Mhm.
step up on. And I mean, it's especially true, I feel like, with difficult people that you navigate.
Yeah.
Because everybody kind of like oftentimes gives up on the
Yeah.
difficult people.
On the person, yeah.
Yeah. But if we just step back from it
Mm-hmm.
and get a different vantage point, right? Look at it from a different perspective because it's necessary. It's necessary. Finding the ability to create peace in chaos situations is a primary part of self-care mastery and mental wellness.
Yes.
Like being able to focus your attention on looking for the positive aspects of every situation, or not positive. I don't mean positive in the sense of, you know, like fabricated happiness. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what is the silver lining in the story? What is the upside? We have to, if we want to be mentally well, we have to build our muscle and our mental strength to the capacity where we are choosing consciously to focus on the positive. Difficult job, the positive situation, you have a job. Right? And I'm not saying it to the point where that your job might not be toxic. I'm not saying that because I understand being in a toxic working environment. What I'm saying it from a perspective from is if your ability to, if you have to be there, you have to find a way to make peace with it, even for you to be able to find something else.
Yeah.
Even for you to be able to go into, to shift to a different level. And
Yeah.
one of the coaches that I had, she said, you know, before you leave a situation, you have to love a situation. My bird's chatting, sorry. Before you leave a situation.
Amen, girl.
Right. Amen. Right. Exactly. Before you leave a situation, you have to love a situation. And I didn't understand what she meant at first when she said that. But what she was saying ultimately is you got to bring your A game to a situation, because this is about the character that you're cultivating. This is about the being that you're becoming.
Yes.
Your responses, your choices, your viewpoint is about the being that you're becoming. So there are times where work environments are absolutely toxic. The question, that's not your focus. Your focus is always on you. How am I navigating this toxic experience? You know, and I have a case in point. I used to have a job that to me, it was, you know, I wasn't growing in the job. There wasn't, I didn't feel, to me, there was some level of toxicity, you know, in the work environment. And so she said that you can't leave a job until you love it. And so what that means is in order, even energetically, you can't leave an energy pattern until you've vibrated yourself out of it.
Yeah.
By how you're thinking, how you're responding, how you're speaking, right? How you're looking at the scenario, because otherwise all you're going to do is go into another situation and bring that same energy over there with you, because you're bringing the same responses, the same pattern, right? So when she said that, I was like, okay, because she was right. I wasn't bringing my A game to the job. I had let the environment of the job infiltrate me, and I started matching the energy of the job. You know, that energy match stuff. Yeah, I started, you know, giving it what I felt it was giving me. And so then that was bringing down my character.
Yeah.
I started showing up late, not caring, you know, half-assing things, you know, just not doing my best. Well, how was I going to get, move into a better energetic scenario when I was showing up like that? I wasn't.
Yeah.
So when I heard the message of you got to love it before you leave it, and that's energy wise and everything, I started showing up better. I started making sure, that I was on time, because we can rationalize stuff. If the authority figure isn't on time, we say, well, they always late. Why I gotta be on time? They always late. Shoot, I'm gonna be late. They don't care. I don't care. That's that energy match stuff, right? But what is that building into you? Now you are actually letting those people in those situations control who you are. You're giving up your power.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Whenever someone is not bringing their A game to me, it's an opportunity for me to shine. Now, it wasn't always like that, but it's an opportunity for me to shine because they slacking. I can do the bare minimum and look better than them in this situation. You know what I'm saying? Just simply showing up on time and being there.
Yeah.
I can look better than them.
Yeah.
So I think that we really have to, that whole energy match thing. No, you transform the energy. You activate your power.
Right.
Because life is reflecting what we think and believe to us in order to teach us, in order to show us. And I'm going to let you talk in a minute, Q. I've been going on for quite a bit. But today, I really want you to sit with the idea, you guys out there. I want you guys to sit with the concept that life is reflecting how you feel, how you think, what you believe to be true back to you. How you feel about yourself, how you feel about your life. It's reflecting that back to you. I don't want you to take my word for it. I just want you, because I've glimpsed it. Even the most difficult people, even the most difficult circumstances, I'm not saying that they are you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they are expressions of what you believe to be true about yourself and about life. They are expressions of how you have responded to what you've encountered. And they are expressions of the choices that you've made just in general. So I just want you to sit with that.
Yeah. Powerful. Oh, powerful. I got so much from it all. Before I do respond though, can you read the other card? Before she reads the other card, she had read the other card that she's about to read first. And then we talked, and then she pulled a card from the Matt Kahn deck that connected with it. And that's how we ended up with this topic, because it was like, wow, how are we pulling cards from two different decks without, prompting, not knowing what the card is, and they just happen to be in alignment? That means that somebody needs to hear this today. So if you would read that card for me, and then I'm going to reflect on the things that you said.
Okay. So I do not have to earn love. I am lovable because I exist. Others reflect the love I have for myself.
So that was the first card she read, and then she read the one.
There is no problem, only destiny being revealed.
Right. So I when April read the first card, I had reflected on a passage that I listened to in the Audible version of Be Water, My Friend by Shannon Lee. Shannon Lee is the daughter of the late Bruce Lee, and she wrote this book on reflections of her father's philosophical teachings and his the book that he wrote, the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. And I'm not going to get into that right now because I haven't read it yet. When I read it, then I'll. But anyway, she said something to the effect of, she was talking about relationships and how we interact with people, and when they bring harm to us and we react, that other people's behavior is a reflection of us. And so what are we really responding to? And so while you were talking, April, I was thinking about how we get stuck in the story. You started out by talking about how we have been, some of us, or many of us have been in situations where we didn't have a choice, where we were powerless. And as soon as you said that, of course, I'm going to reflect on my own journey. I think about how we get stuck in that story and we repeat that story subconsciously to ourselves because it makes sense. If something traumatized you to the degree that you kind of step outside of yourself and become something completely different, when you go back out into the world and have other experiences, you tend to draw the same kind of energy because now the story that was put upon you, you're repeating it. And you may not do it on purpose, but this is just what it is. Now, people might say, well, that's not fair. I didn't do this to myself. So if I'm thinking that way or I'm behaving that way, I'm drawing that energy. It's not my fault that I'm drawing it. No. But going back to the card that there is no problem, only destiny, my destiny being revealed. And also the other card about people being a reflection of us. I believe, and I think you said something to that, something else along these lines, that there's no problem, that these things, something happened to you. So now your life goes about setting a course for you to find the solution to what happened to you and change the story and change what you're attracting. And the more you don't decide or choose to change what's happening to you or change what you're attracting, the more you're going to have to repeat these encounters until your subconscious becomes conscious and you decide, I don't like this. I don't want to be in this anymore. I would like a different experience. So when you think about,
and it has to come from me.
Yeah, and no one else can do this. No one else is going to change how they behave towards me. If I'm allowed, first of all, I'm still entering into these situations. And at some point, you see a pattern. And at some point, you have the option to say, you know what? This keeps happening. There's something to this. I need to take a look at it. I need to take a step back. Maybe not have a relationship right now. Maybe not change jobs right now, like you said. Maybe not pick up this project right now because the same thing keeps happening. Let me do a self-inventory. Let me trace the story back, find the origins, and find out what happened here and then what happened the next time and what my response to that was, and see if there's a different response that could possibly generate a better outcome for me. And then start leaning in that direction. And knowing that it's going to take time, i.e. the birds are in the cage. They stayed in there for a good minute before when you finally opened the cage door, and then they started venturing out and it was like, yeah, I don't know about this. I'm not familiar with this yet. Let me go back in. So you're going to go in and out of the cage for a minute because you're accustomed to being in the cage. But at least you are venturing outside of the cage. So these experiences, this was major for me because I experienced multiple traumas in my childhood. And not only did I attract the same type of trauma in the same form, I attracted other trauma. I got bullied and teased. There were different things that were going on that were all the same thing. And I did not know how to be something other than a victim because the story was already embedded. And I had not yet begun the work of changing the story because I didn't know how, and I wasn't available to the change story because some part of me had grown accustomed to the story as it was, and some part of me liked it because it was familiar. It was what I knew, and to some degree that gave me control over it. To some degree you're like, well, at least they want to be around me. They may not be treating me right, but they allow me in. They come to look for me. They want me here. So it's not the greatest story, but it is a story that includes me. So, you're
so right. I want to go piggyback really quickly off of that because the reason why sometimes we don't make choices as it relates to releasing people from our lives sometimes that need to be released is because of the idea of abandonment, not necessarily releasing them. That's not, what I want to say is sometimes we don't say things to people that we need to say, right?
That's right.
Because we're afraid that they are going to leave us. They're going to abandon us if we express our needs.
Right.
And
now,
that may be because of the story that we have playing in our head that might have happened to us before. But if they leave, they need to leave. It's an energy shift.
Yes, so that you have the opportunity to change the story, because if they're still there, then that's all you're going to know. And you're not
if they're still there playing that same character, reading that from that same script, because you haven't changed the script.
That's right. And so here's another part to that. At some point, because we are not created just to be tossed to and fro. We are love. As the card said, we are love, and love attracts love. But when we don't know that story that we've got in our head is what speaks. It speaks. And so even though we are love and we are attracting love, we don't see that yet in the people that we're attracted, because they're looking at the story and not the love. They're drawn by the love, but they're consciously like, I can get away with X, Y, and Z with this person. So this I'm going to do. But one of the things that I know without question is that somewhere in our journey, someone modeled the type of behavior that would help us change the story. And we didn't latch on to that because, that's their story. And I'm telling you this, and maybe sometimes textbook for every individual, but I know multiple times. I was walking one day. I was on my way back from lunch in elementary school. I was in 3rd grade. And there was this girl that was always calling me ugly, always teasing me. It was her and 2 other girls outside, and they were teasing me and laughing at me. And there was this other girl who was kind of like an outcast. She didn't really talk to nobody. She was walking not too far behind me. And I was just going to go into school and just not care, like whatever. I was used to being picked on. And so I'm just kind of standing there at this point, because I need to get into the door where they are. And because they're mocking me, I don't know if they're going to physically try to stop me from getting in school, right? So the other girl walks up and she's like, why y'all picking on her? She didn't do anything to you. Leave her alone, blah, 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 blah. The girl that was leading the charge was talking back to her. And they went back and forth for a second. And the girl that was defending me cold cocked this girl like 3-4 times. Just blah, 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 blah. Now get out the way. And she was like, come on. Told me to come on. I was like, okay. And I went with her, and she was like, and she said to me, don't let them talk to you like that. They don't have a right to treat you that way. She said it. She showed me. Now, granted, I probably shouldn't be hitting people, but she showed me that I didn't have to take it. And then she followed that up with telling me. But I did not change. You know when I started sticking up for myself? Maybe 25? Maybe somewhere around that part. And granted, there were a few times before that where I definitely had a couple of fights with some boys that I totally dominated them because I was fed up. Then it was like, stop doing this, stop. And I couldn't take it. But consciously, it took a long time for me to say stop with those particular individuals. But I really firmly did not begin to say, I don't like the way you're treating me, and I'm not having it anymore when I was in my mid-20s, because I did not grab the messages. And that's not the only one. I had friends. I used to joke and be like, why do I always have people a lot of the people who get close to me used to be some kind of thuggish behavior, have been in prison or something like that. And they, no joke, they reformed in a sense, but they still kick a bone out your back because they don't play. And I'm like, why do these people want to hang out with me? Because they were the energy that I needed to change my own story. But I was telling myself, no, that's their story. They're hanging around me because I'm the energy that they need to calm the hell down. That wasn't it at all. Maybe it did to some degree. They were getting the energy they needed from me to calm down, but I wasn't getting the energy from them to stop people or to change the story so that I wasn't receiving the same type of energy on a regular basis. So I do believe
you weren't taking the lesson. for what it was. You instead may have been in victim mode and just like, oh, this keeps happening to me. This always happens to me. This is what I deserve. This is just who I am. When the truth of it was, if you had just started for a moment standing up for yourself, you would have changed the script, and then the story would have been different. The story would have been different. But I want, it's what I just have to bring this point up, because for me, the belief that I experienced was that every time I stood up for myself, I would get isolated. People would ostracized.
Girl that defended me, she was always by herself.
Yeah. So this is the thing. So people, if people cannot manipulate you, if they can't keep abusing you, what they will eventually happen is sometimes that they will, start to try to defecate your character, start to tell lies on you, try to whatever, just to make you they'll try to make you feel guilty about getting what you need. I had a scenario recently at work. I stood up for myself about something. A lady, she violated me by like reaching into my personal space, and I told her that it wasn't okay, and please just ask for what it was that you want. And now she's painted this big story about, because I don't want to be, now she's being sarcastic, and I don't want to step on nobody's toes, or I don't want to make nobody feel uncomfortable, doing these little
because now she's trying to create another story for you.
She's trying to create another story that I'm a problem, and that I'm aggressive just because I'm standing up for myself. And so for me, that's something that's a big reason as to why I stopped standing up for myself and stopped speaking my truth. Because whenever I did, I felt like it would now people know how I really feel. Those people no longer would want to talk to me, or they would treat me differently. And I didn't want that, But what I didn't realize was that was a part of the process of elevating me to be around the people that were going to listen to me, support me, value me. I didn't realize that just by exerting the lesson, and saying no, that it was going to help me level up. I don't know. Did you see it?
Yeah. I say now, he's talking coming out. Okay.
Yeah, they coming out now. They're like, we out. We don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. But the other thing the thing that you brought up that was so valuable was where you are focusing your attention. Where are we focusing our attention? Sometimes we don't see the silver lining because we're not looking at it. We're so busy complaining about the problems that we see instead of fixing our minds on what is the solution. Instead of focusing on the person who was kind to us, we will consistently be, completely absorbed by the person who was abusing us, giving our energy over to that. We can't stop talking about that. We can't stop, revisiting that in our mind. But then there could have been somebody who genuinely came over and was kind to us, and we just dismissed them, or we didn't value them. And so our energy pattern is saying, our attention is saying, oh, she wants more of this. She wants more of this because she's not even seeing. I keep sending her, spirit can say, God, however you see the energy that's bigger than us, that we are a part of, can send us rescues, and we could be so consumed by, the thing that hurt us, giving all of our energy to that we're not giving energy over to healing and the things that we need to do to heal, so.
So you had said something else. Okay, no, I mentioned that part about the things that keep coming. until we decide to change the story. And I'm trying to think, because you said something that made me think about when we have a choice, we have an opportunity to find peace. Okay, so we ventured into something else that pointed to what you said earlier today about not everyone not being born to live a life of outward peace, that we're going to experience some things, and some of us more than others, in which we're going to have to find the peace within ourselves. And it made me reflect on yet another part of my childhood, how, yes, experienced multiple traumas before I was even like 5 years old, but I still remained I just was happy. I was happy playing with my toys. I was happy going outside to play with people, even when there were bullies and stuff like that. Like, I wasn't deterred from experiencing life. I just experienced it. I found peace in the midst of chaos. Even as a teenager, I lived in chaos. I had there was a crackhead boyfriend. My mother's boyfriend was a crackhead in the bedroom. I had aunts and uncles passing through there that had situations going on. It was not, people, it was not okay. It was just not a good environment. But I would come home, and after I was out with my friends for a little while, and sit on my bed, do my homework, draw, write poetry, I was not thinking about any of the stuff that was happening. I wasn't thinking about how there was no food in the fridge. I wasn't thinking about anything that could possibly be a problem. I had my own peace, and it came from in here. But when I became an adult, and granted, those situations that I was in, I didn't have a choice. I couldn't run away. I could have, but I had nowhere else to go. I had to live there. I had to be there. But when it became my choice, when I became an adult, and I could choose to be with this person, and I could choose to be at this particular location and in this job and it's whatever, I tended to stay. Because for some reason, when the responsibility is, and when someone else is controlling your situation, then, for me, I was just like, all right, well, this is where I'm at. So this makes me feel good, I'll do this. That makes me feel good, I'll do that. But when I became an adult, and no one was controlling me anymore, no one was controlling my environment, the story was therefore so embedded that I was like the bird, the wide open cage. I don't know this. This doesn't look like what I'm used to. I want to go back in the cage. So I created a cage out of my new experiences where I did have control, that I forfeited it or relinquished myself so I could have something familiar to the caged environment. And that is how many of us are living. And it comes out in so much that we see on social media. A lot of the behaviors where folks just seem to be out of control. They're not really out of control. They just don't take control, because
That's it.
control is hard, because it requires you to think, it requires you to practice, it requires you to take your time, it requires you to be observant. And we just want to go, we just want to live, we just want to do things, we just want to feel good. We
just want to avoid.
Yeah, that taking the time to change what's happening to you by changing how you are on the inside is terrifying. And it doesn't have to be. And I think a lot of us get to the point, I know I got to the point where I'd had enough. And while I was already on my journey, being in the last situation, the situation that I was in before I moved out here, I was kind of stuck. And in my mind, I was like, what am I going to do? I don't have a job. I don't have money. I have children. What am I going to do? I felt stuck. And then my psyche and my spirit and my soul, everything finally say, you are not stuck. You're telling yourself that you're stuck because you're afraid of what's out there. And then I said, you know what? I'm not afraid anymore. I'm finna go. And I left. I mean, I planned for it as best I could. It took me a few months to actually get up and walk away. But it was already embedded in me that I needed a new story. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to rewrite it, but I know the first step is deciding that I don't have to be in this story anymore. It is not my story, and I'm releasing it. And
You
so
took your power back. I
I
love that so much. And one of the things that you said that was really important is sometimes when we are working to change our stories or our circumstances, we start to focus on all of the elements that we believe that we need in order to make the changes. And that can be overwhelming because you can say, well, you start to immediately focus on all the things you don't have, all the
yep,
stuff you can't do right now. Well, I don't have this job, or I don't, like you saying, I don't have money, so I can't make any changes because I need this, I need this, I need this. But what I believe Spirit is striving to teach us is that everything that we need we have within us, or we have within us the ability to draw to us the things that we need. And so all change starts with where we are, but it starts in the consciousness. It starts in your mind. It starts with your awareness. It starts with you paying attention to everything, to the reflection. It starts with you paying attention to the reflection, to what's going on, to find the clues, to see that the answers are there. Choosing a different place to place your attention. And then the other part that you said that was really powerful is taking responsibility for your part. No, it's not your fault. No, yes, bad things happened, but you can respond. Your ability to respond is intact. So you can take risk. You are responsible for changing the circumstances now, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn how to tap into our power. And the last thing I want to say about that is that peace must be cultivated under all circumstances. And especially when things are chaotic, that's really the opportunity for you to cultivate peace, because you have nothing but practice all around. And so whatever you have to figure out, what is your system that helps you cultivate peace? It could be many different things: taking walks, just resting, lying down, and just watching the breath move through your body, painting, art, poetry, like Kuyani was doing. Whatever it is that you need to cultivate peace, because by cultivating peace and stillness, all the answers come. The reflection that we look at that may seem so chaotic starts to reveal answers for us. It starts to reveal lessons, and it starts to reveal opportunities of what we can choose differently to do differently.
That was the other thing that it took to that story I told you about, that I found a few months ago, about the monks on the train.
About the what?
The monks on. Did I go out? Did my video go out? Yeah, sorry about that. Somebody called me because I definitely forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Forgive me.
Okay.
I'm back. My bad. Okay. So, the monks on the train, they were traveling. It was a 3-day trip. So the train would stop from different places in India. And whenever the train stopped, one of the monks would get off the train and go find a quiet place and meditate. And so I think after he did it like 2 times, his teacher said, "Why do you get off the train and meditate?" And he said, "Well, because it's quieter there on the train. There's a lot of noise, etc." He said, "Then that's where you should meditate, on the train. Because if you aren't able to be still within yourself when things are going on around you, then you're not achieving full consciousness and full enlightenment." And so that's the thing, learning, because our inclination is, I don't like it here. Like you said about jobs, I don't like it here. I'm going to leave. I have a situation now that I'm in. It's not a situation as much as it is a decision. And I made the decision a long time ago, but how I go about walking into the decision is what I had to change, because I was ready to just jump and run with no real, it was a mini plan. It wasn't detailed and well thought out. it had like 3 or 4 details. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go do this. But in reality, I'm not ready for what I'm about to go do. But at the same time, the place that I'm in at the moment was uncomfortable for me. I didn't like it. I wasn't okay. And so my immediate thought was to hurry up and get out. No, the awareness that I was uncomfortable and that it wasn't an ideal situation for me was to say, okay, it is time for a change. It is time for you to enter into something. The time that you're here now, you need to make peace with where you are. You need to um, develop some things within yourself and some technical things, and then you need to plan out and you need to be patient, because while you're planning and readying yourself, you are manifesting the very thing that you are moving into. If you move now and you take with you everything that you are right now,
That same energy.
Right now, the feelings that you're harboring because you're not allowing the feelings to pass through you, you're just like, I just don't like, I feel like this. If you move into that next situation, that new decision with all of that stuff, you're going to end up in exactly the way you are now. Uncomfortable, not happy, thinking and feeling in ways that keep you from showing up as your full self. So
same pattern. You're going to just bring with you the same pattern. Absolutely. Because you're the common denominator.
Right. And it's so funny because in the natural sense, there's also that struggle. I'm a very neat person. However, I'm a collector of things. So I end up taking, and I mean anything, receipts, and that just means I'm not putting them where they belong. Shoes, clothes, I got things, books. And for the most part, what I can see is neat. But there are things in hidden spaces that are not together. And some of those things I don't need anymore. And I need to go through them and get rid of them. But I allowed myself to become overwhelmed and think, oh, I can't get it done, which is not true. That was my former thinking. My new thinking was, do you really want to do you want to do what you always do, which is take everything with you and I'll sort it out when I get there. Now, granted, sometimes I do, part of my movement is going through things and throwing them out and making sure I get rid of them. But another part of my movement is going through things, putting them in a pile and putting them in a box and saying, I'll deal with this. Because, when you go through stuff, especially if it's that to that degree, you go through it once, you sort it out. Then you got to sort out what you sorted out and then sort out that other stuff. And then sort until you finally condensed everything to what you're actually going to keep, what you're going to give away, what you're going to throw out, whatever. So I got into that mindset. You have to take your time and start breaking these things down and getting them taken care of. You are not going to just keep taking stuff out of sight because you don't like the sight, because I don't like disorder. I get noodles. It's like wires, papers, and then it's like, let me just stuff them in here so I don't have to look at them. And that is exactly what we do with the situations and the symptoms of what we go through. It's just, I'll be all right. Or I'll take a drink, or I'll smoke, or whatever, or I'll go party, or I'll binge watch this or that. Never sorting through them and getting them out. So I said, we're going to do this. And so little by little, that's what I started doing. And when I start to feel like I'm overwhelmed, then I move away from that and I go either take a break, take a rest, or I move on to something else that I know is a part of me getting to where I need to go that I can focus on later so that I'm not consumed by that. And it's going to take me a while. And I have to be okay with that. And I am, because I'd rather sit and learn to be okay and be still within myself where I am right now. So if I got too much stuff that I need to go through, or I have a lot of stuff I need to go through and unpack, or there's a program that I don't know how to do that I want to learn so I can get a promotion at work, whatever it is, I am going to spend the time because I am valuable enough to spend that kind of time on to make sure that I don't bring with me the same stuff that I got going on into my next situation.
And I think that's so important, because the reason that that's so important, Q, is because oftentimes when we are ready to leave a situation, we have not gone through the lessons that were in that situation. And so we're resisting the lessons. We're trying to avoid the lessons. We don't want to organize, go deeper in our organization. We just want to pick up and think that by creating a different or moving into a different external situation is somehow going to fix is going to be the but that's not the situation. Whatever is showing up in our lives at this present moment is what is necessary for us to face and to navigate. It's the next lesson.
Yes.
But oftentimes we're trying to jump ahead into the lesson from our physical form. We're trying to move ahead just from the physical aspect, thinking that you can change your external world and then everything is going to be better. No, you've got up to your point. You have to unpack the stuff that needs to be released so that when you move into the next space, you're not bringing that with you. You're not bringing those other lessons, because then what begins to happen is you're piling on the lessons. And that's when the overwhelm starts to happen. And then when the overwhelm starts to happen, you'll get stuck. You won't do anything, because now your mind is like, this is too much. So wherever we are in life, you have to, in order to get where you're going, you have to be fully present with where you are now, because where you are now holds keys and wisdom of what you need to take it and move to the next level. So the reflection is here to serve us. There's no problem. There's a destiny that's being revealed, even through the traumatic situations, even through the chaotic situations. Destiny is being revealed.
Another thing I wanted to add, if we think about what a mirror does, a reflection is the reverse of what we see. So if I'm wearing a t-shirt with words on it, it's going to be backwards. And that's what, if we're looking in the mirror, or the mirror that is the interaction that we're having that we don't desire, the behavior of the person or a situation that we're in, is that we are reflecting the opposite of what we truly desire, because we haven't released it. We haven't like when those exercises where people tell you to look at yourself in the mirror, and up until 2 years ago, I had a real problem doing that. Because when you really look at yourself, a lot of times it's a self-affirming confidence thing, where you can look yourself in your eyes and see how amazing you are. But really, it's to look and see what's there. And a lot of times the things that are there that you don't want to look at, so that you can deal with them. And so that's what those reflections are: the behaviors of other people, the situations that we draw based on what we've been harboring inside of ourselves. So, we are looking at the reverse of what we want. And
we're looking at it from the perspective, like it could definitely be reversed. But it also can be that we need to look a little bit deeper, and into what's shown, and not just look at what's showing up in physical form. What's happening on the inside of me that's attracting these particular scenarios to me. I am the common denominator in all of this. And so when I look at the reflection of my life, it's telling me what's being drawn to me based on how the energy that I'm giving out. So I need to look at that reflection and make some changes, and how I'm showing up. And I may just need to be able to look at myself, like you said. And that was your lesson at that moment, because that was hard for you to do. That was what you needed to do. was to sit and look at you
Mm-hmm.
and how you had learned. So a lot of times, again, what happens is we learn coping skills and coping techniques when we are in survival mode. Well, those techniques that we learned and those ways, those patterns do not belong in the next chapter necessarily.
Yeah.
We have to choose a different pattern. That pattern could have been for that time period. Now I need a new pattern. Now I need to learn a new way of responding. And so with self-care mastery, we really just have to be committed to the process of taking a step back and looking at how did I show up? How did I respond? I really feel like the more that we do that, we save ourselves time and energy and agony. But the key to it is you have to understand that you definitely deserve peace, and it's up to you to gift that to you.
That's right.
I want to just read this, and then we're going to go ahead and leave out this message about the reflection, the concept of life being a reflection. It says self-awareness can be defined as the capacity to direct attention towards oneself, self-focused state, and to engage in reflexive thought about one's self. It's true, people out there have not learned to navigate and interact, are not emotionally intelligent. You're going to have to navigate them. You could be their teacher.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we should take abuse. That's not what I'm saying.
Right. But your response.
How you respond. So if you leave an unhealthy situation, right, you're teaching them that behavior is not okay for me. But if you stay in an unhealthy situation, you're also teaching them that you believe you deserve that.
Right.
So our choices and what we choose, how we respond, will ultimately generate a new level for us every time. Absolutely. And our reflection will get more true. To Cleone's point, our reflection will start to become more true, a truer reflection of our authentic self, rendering us the opportunity and the ability to really look at ourselves and say, I love what I see. I am enough. Give us the opportunity to cultivate new beliefs in alignment with where we're going. To understand that we can tap into our power that's within us if we choose. And to show us that practice is necessary, because why do I keep having certain experiences? You still need to understand the lesson.
That's right.
So much here. This particular topic is it's a deep topic about the reflection of life. It really is a deep topic. I could, just sit with this for a while. And, I think one of the things that could be helpful for those who are out there, how do you start to unpack the idea of life being a reflection? I think the first thing that I would start with is writing down a list of all of the people or the situations that challenge me the most in my current situation. I start with them.
Yeah, that in itself. I know we hear that a lot about writing lists, and it can become redundant, but it's so important. It's kind of hard to do it without that. Anything, you have a budget you want to follow, you should write it down versus trying to remember every week what you got to pay for. Making a list also helps you to reflect, helps you to see that maybe more things that you uncover, or maybe you find in the list that some of those things aren't even a problem, and so the lists are important. This
Yeah,
take
it gets it out
time.
of your head.
Yes.
So it gets it out of your head on paper. It gives you a different vantage point, right? A different perspective. And I think, like I said, all of the situations that challenge you the most, and they say the things that challenge you the most are your best teachers, right? Your hardest student is your best teacher. Well, then I would go ahead and I would ask the question, why are these things challenging me? Why am I angry at this person? Why am I this? And then it will give you the opportunity to start connecting the dots. What does this remind me of? What pattern is this I'm seeing repeated? I think that's the most powerful question. Why is this person challenging me the most, or this situation? Why am I really angry? Unpacking that stuff and getting to the root of it. So I would make that list, and then I would start with whoever or whatever you feel you want to start with on that list, and then just reflect on it, meditate on it. You could reflect on it by writing up all the things that comes to mind, when you think about this entity or this pattern, that maybe it's a pattern that's challenging you. Right? Write down all of your thoughts and all of your feelings. Just blurt it out, onto paper, or you can do audio if that's, better for you. If writing is not your thing, speak it out, And I guarantee you there are going to be some jewels there for you. I guarantee you there are going to be some answers.
Right. You want to, at some point, try to see what these situations can be teaching you. What is it that you can take from this situation? What has this situation brought up in you so far? Because sometimes some hidden stuff that came from somewhere else so long ago that has absolutely nothing to do with this person, but when they behave a certain way, it brings that up for you. So it becomes a place of discovery. You find out things about yourself, and you find out, then another question becomes, how can I respond to the situation in a way that supports me? You can look up online, what can healthy responses to this, that, the other. There are tons of psychological references and resources on the internet that can support you in changing that situation. But the change is coming from within. Before you can touch it, you have to look at it. And looking at it does come in the form of something tangible, whether, like April said, whether it's on paper or it's on audio.
Whether it's a painting.
Right. You need it.
It's a poem.
Exactly. Most of my deliverance and healing came through my poetry. It's so funny because I'm not even, and this, I've been writing poetry my whole life. It literally, I bleed the stuff. I'm not even really interested in it anymore. I swear, it's like, I'll be like, oh, I don't want to see that. I don't know, girl. And maybe it's just temporary.
Maybe.
It might just be temporary. Right now, it's like, but I feel like I've come to a plateau of sorts, and there are always more plateaus, but I feel like I came to a plateau of sorts because that was the source. That was how I got it out. That's how, and I look now back at this journey when I got it out. That was like, okay, now your healing started in this area, so now we're moving into it. And so it may have taken me a while to actually realize my healing, but the poetry was what opened the door for me to get all of that stuff out. And I had pockets of time where I was what I call depressed. And I was writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. I was getting it out. And so I made room. And so now I'm walking in and I'm living in the healing. And of course, there's more healing, but I'm walking and living in the healing, completely different person. So that when I go back and read those things that I wrote, I'm like, wow, yeah, I remember that. But I remember it outside of myself. I don't remember how it felt. I don't remember it's not a part of me anymore.
That's a really good point, though. What you bring up too is that writing and just recording down, your progress or your process can be very helpful. with you seeing your growth, so that you can look back and see, wow, I've really healed from that. I'm not triggered by that anymore. But another important thing that you said is basically, if you want things to change in our circumstances, right? If we want the reflection to change, then we have to do, engage in some different responses. Different results require different responses, right? And so at the heart of this whole self-care mastery is you and your ability to make different responses to what you experience. And that's how you're going to change your external world, by changing your vantage point, right?
That's right.
So
Awesome.
yeah, I think that we're going to leave it there for today. And we hope, that we talk about, may not resonate with you,
Right.
but that's okay. Take what does and apply it, now, whatever will help you in this moment. Also, just take a step.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, from wherever you are right now, take a step. It could be just cleaning up your home. Like that for me is whenever I'm like feeling overwhelmed, that's usually where I start to kind of help me to ground and center myself, and to process my feelings, just to slow my mind down. I'll make sure that my house is in order. That's a helpful thing. So whatever that is for you, just take a step right now. Today, if you have to have a conversation with someone, go ahead and figure out what's the best course of action with having that. If you need a mediator, get the mediator for the conversation. Sometimes, steps have to be broken down into multiple steps. So one step could have 7 steps within it. Find out what those 7 steps are, if that's the case. And then start taking the action.
Yeah.
The simplest things, often escape us, but they're also the solution. And I think that the secret of life, in my opinion, is that it's a lot simpler than we complicate it.
Yeah.
It's as simple sometimes as being kind to your friend, saying something nice to your friend. Life can be just as simple as that, to improve someone's disposition or how they feel about themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So just checking in with yourself too. What am I giving back to people? I'm going to tell you a real quick story, then we're going to, round up. Sometimes I'm impatient, when I go to the store. And, there was a lady in particular, I was at Walmart. I knew what the lady needed to do. She was new to the job, so she really didn't know what she needed to do. But I had done it before with other representatives and other associates. And so I was frustrated because I was ready to go. I had other things I had to do. I was just rushed in my mind. So now I'm bringing this rushed, impatient energy to this other being, right? And then, so I was self-aware in the moment, and I said, be patient, she's just doing her job. Be patient, she's just doing her job. I kept having to repeat that to myself, because I was very much impatient. I was like, I'm ready to go. Like, what's the problem? I do this all the time. Like, let's just exchange it out. Just give me what I want so I can be going on my way. I'm like, this is me. I was all anxious about it. And I did not express that to her, but I had those feelings and those thoughts within me at the moment, right? So that was the energy that I was bringing and giving out into the world, you see? And so if I receive that energy back to me in some form, which of course I will, right? Of course I have, right? I did that.
Yeah.
Life was reflecting to me. You see how you were doing to so-and-so. You don't like when you're being rushed, right? You don't like, when people trying to tell you your job. You don't like when people are impatient with you when you're trying with the learning process. So why would you give that energy to someone else? So thankfully, I was self-aware enough in the moment to not act on my thoughts and the pattern of my nervous system of just rush, rush, hurry, hurry, hurry.
Yeah.
And I stopped, and I said that to myself. She's doing her job. Let her do her job. And I just, in that moment, made a conscious decision to exude extra kindness to the lady.
Yeah.
At the end of the discussion, I just said, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day. Because ultimately, the truth of who I am, my authentic self, I do want her to have a good rest of her day. Right? Yeah. But sometimes we're not thinking about how the energy that we express, how it's affecting all of life.
That's right.
And so just because we've experienced trauma, just because we've experienced pain, just because whatever, it does not give us the right to pay that forward.
Yes.
Right? It does not give us the right to match people's energy. And if we think that matching people's energy is a healthy practice, it's not. It's not. You can adjust yourself accordingly, right? But if you mirror and their behavior, you're no better than them. So yeah, sometimes we do have to choose to being the bigger person is not necessarily the phrase that I want to say,
well, we have
but
to
sometimes we
elevated fashion so that we can bring them up.
Yeah, because then otherwise we're at the same level.
Yeah, or lower.
Or lower.
Real talk.
Yeah, we're held accountable for that which we know.
You're really putting yourself lower than them, and you're you're bringing them down with you, basically.
So we want you to reflect, on how you're showing up, because your life is reflecting what you believe about yourself, what you believe about life.
Yes.
And your ability to access and tap into your power. Anything else, Q, before we go?
No. Just
elevate. Absolutely, just elevate. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Q&A exchange. Please remember to like our channel and subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends if you feel like it would be helpful to them. And also, you can find us, you might be watching this on Roku, so we definitely want to shout out Rain TV. And so thank you so much to Alicia Rain for just having this platform and giving us the opportunity to use our lessons to gift back to the world what we learn. Also, remember, if you need, we always say, this is DIY, there's levels to the mental health journey.
Yes.
Right? There are levels where you need some hands-on help, from an external source. We've done that. We do that, right? Going to a therapist. Then, there are levels where a coach is necessary, because what a coach does basically is hold you accountable to the things that you might unpack with your therapist, changes that you may need to make, and so forth. And that's what we are. We're coaches. We hold people accountable when they come out of the therapist's office, and help them to take the steps that they've identified they needed to take. And we provide resources and help them to discover the resources to make it practical for their life.
Right.
So definitely, decide which level you are at with your mental health and get what you need for yourself.
Yes.
If you don't find the right therapist the first time, if that's what you need, or if you don't find the right coach the first time, don't give up on you. Stay committed to your self-care and self-healing. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. See you next time. If you're looking to purchase sea moss in its various forms, visit One Peaceful Yogi on Instagram, and you can learn more about the benefits of sea moss on her Instagram page as well.